Welcome to the Friday Value video. Last week, we started on the topic of what promotes lifelong well-being. And hopefully we all agree that it's a life of excellence, not attempting perfectionism. And can we do the things that bring us joy as long as we are above ground and breathing? That's a life of excellence. And there are some things that we want to focus on or pay attention to so that we can greatly increase our chances of doing that very thing. And we want to be getting healthy amounts of these 8 items on this list. Now, we talked about water last week, but I have tons of other videos where I talk about how food impacts pain and health, how important movement is for life, how stress hormone cortisol is influenced by being in nature. I've talked about these topics. Also, in my Have Lifelong Wellbeing monthly newsletter, I've got extensive series that I've written on a lot of these topics. So I'm not going to rehash other things, but I want to share with you what I learned about sleep in a recent conference that I attended by an expert. And some of these things I was quite surprised to learn, and I think you may be also. Ready? It was a presentation by Dr. Silveress, and her title of her talk was The Vitalness of Sleep for Optimal Health. And these were the 5 main topics that she covered. I want to share some basic facts. I'm certainly not going to try to do her presentation because I'm not the expert on this. She is. However, some of the basics that you need to understand is for every hour, under 7 hours of sleep that we get, there's an increased likelihood of developing type 2 diabetes by 9% for every hour under 7 hours. It leads to a lower insulin sensitivity and fat cell sensitivity. But getting less than that optimal amount of sleep increases our risk of lots of things: high blood pressure, diabetes, as I said, obesity, depression, heart attack, stroke, even death. So I'm going to share some of what I found to be very important facts that I think you would like to know. Pro-aging. You all know, Have Lifelong Well-Being. It's all about aging without decline. Well, did you know that 4 nights of partial sleep restriction, this doesn't mean no sleep, just means partial sleep restriction, causes metabolic aging of 10 to 20 years in the human body from just 4 nights of partial sleep restriction. So this puts a whole new value to how important it is for us to be getting enough sleep. And weight gain and an increase in abdominal fat. You've got these two chemicals in the body, and put it simply, the hormones, I believe, but we'll keep it simple here. And you've got something called leptin that tells you when you're full, so you don't need to eat anymore, and ghrelin tells you when you're hungry, so keep eating. Even if you're full, ghrelin will tell you to keep eating if it's out of control. And what they're seeing when you're not getting enough sleep is that there's reduced leptin levels and increased ghrelin levels in the human body. And this leads to an increased calorie intake on a daily basis, up to 20% increased calories. So we want to be getting enough sleep if we're struggling to achieve a healthy weight. And then when it comes to performance, enhancing performance and vitality, if you're getting 8 to 9 hours per night, you are literally going to see improved skill and motor control, improved endurance, improved muscle recovery, increased peak and sustained muscle strength, and an increase in blood oxygen saturation. And less than 6 hours of sleep cuts that endurance and stamina by up to 30%. Memory and cognitive function. You will strengthen neuronal connections for memory access and consolidation by getting a healthy amount of sleep. So here's the basics of sleep hygiene if you're struggling, and this is based on what Dr. Silveress presented. I'm sort of, giving you a little bullet point here, but it's important to anchor your bed and your wake time if you struggle to get enough sleep, if you don't get good quality sleep. So always wake up at this, within the same hour, even on the weekends. This is very important. Exposure to light in the morning within 1 hour of waking, that can also improve your circadian rhythms. Prepping for sleep, winding down at night, not looking at electronic devices and doing all kinds of things that stimulates your nervous system right before sleep. And then having a cool, dark, and quiet environment. put more plants there. And then if you really struggle to sleep well, having a high carb meal, the last meal of the day, a lot of fruit, a lot of complex, healthy carbs, 3 hours before bed, no food. So these things are important. And then they also see that if you exercise in the morning, now this doesn't mean if you can't exercise in the morning, you shouldn't exercise. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But exercising in the morning and outside as much as possible was also shown to improve sleep patterns. So the bottom line, get 7 to 9 hours of sleep nightly so you can have lifelong well being. I'll see you next week.